That's fucking weird.
What were we doing, Dean? You were mogging the stream too hard, bro.
Dude,
What
yeah,
Stop the mewing. If you stopped mewing, maybe we wouldn't get banned.
so real. Gotta stop mewing everybody. I'm sending that off to some people. Hopefully they'll be able to help me.
Yeah, that's actually insane.
What are you up
That's
to?
insane. I am on TikTok right now on like my random account. It just has no push, so it's like 80% following. So any account that you have, we can go on. I just have none. I have literally zero.
Okay. Here's what I think I'll do. So I have the DNC Dean account. I get this back at what time? Let's just go ahead and check it out in the live section right now. I get it back at 4:15, so in exactly um 1 hour, right around an hour, 55 minutes, and that is the next time I'll have access to an account is in 55 minutes.
So do you just want to join my live here on TikTok or?
Well, I have access to my main account. I think I'm gonna go live on the main and just kind of like talk about breaking news for like 55 minutes. I don't want to do debates for obvious reasons, but maybe we could just join up there, kind of talk about Cory Booker and like other things that are big in the news right now. Would you be down?
Yeah, I mean, we can even. I guess I could do both because you're streaming on YouTube, right? So you want to do that for YouTube as well?
Yeah, so I'm gonna do we're gonna talk about Cory Booker. We might even like talk to some liberals about it, and we'll just I kind of run like a more traditional news segment.
I'm actually interested in that. Yeah, I could do that for now.
Sorry, Booker, not Brooker, you guys. Booker, Cory Booker. Sorry, you
Were you
guys.
saying? I thought that's just how you were pronouncing.
No,
I didn't
Booker.
know you were. I didn't know you were saying Brooker.
I was mispronouncing it.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Would you be down for that? Join up. We could do like a breaking news little segment.
Chat. What do y'all think? What do y'all think?
I mean, I think it's a great idea. What about you guys in the chat?
What do y'all think? What do y'all think?
Talk about news. Talk about like what's going on in the news for around 50 minutes, and then get back into the
And then go
debates.
back to debates.
People say they're down.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like people are like down with it. Yeah.
All right. So here's what.
Everyone, hey everyone on the TikTok stream. I recommend you go over to my YouTube channel. I got like about 1,000 people on YouTube right now. I would really appreciate it if you went over to YouTube.
Or come over to
Seriously,
Dean's.
I get banned way less there. I actually have algorithm push
You like
there.
it here more.
But
W Dean's YouTube stream.
it's so much better than TikTok right now.
W Dean's
TikTok
YouTube
is
stream.
right now in a very bad state. It could be related to the ban that's upcoming, but it's just horrible. I was actually thinking about making a video about how bad TikTok is. I might do that tomorrow while I'm like
Yeah.
to go on the flight.
Yeah. No. Good idea. But okay. All right. I'm gonna go live in the.
I'll see you there. I'll join up.
See you there. See you there.
See you then.
All right. W Dean's YouTube stream. All right. We're live on the main account. At it Steam. Y'all know where to find it. Here we go. Are they banning TikTok again on the 5th? Well, I mean, so the current word on TikTok, I guess we'll start talking about kind of where TikTok is at right now and everything that I know about it. It is projected to be banned in 4 days. Trump's administration is expected to issue some type of warning to postpone it, but I guess we'll have to see. For everybody tuning in on the main account, welcome in, you guys. It is so good to see each and every single one of y'all. We'd typically be doing debates right about now, but instead, we are hopping on here for around 45 minutes to kind of discuss a lot of the things in breaking news, kind of what's going on in America, especially today with Cory Booker. He's currently been talking for over 20 hours and on the floor of the Senate, discussing everything that the Trump administration has been doing over the last month or two, detailing with precision everywhere they've gone wrong. He's also been reading off letters from constituents across our country, proportionately in Republican districts, about their thoughts about how the Trump administration has negatively impacted their life, calling for their Republican congressmen and women to do better. And I think that's interesting. So for everybody tuning in on the TikTok, I thought that we would spend about an hour here just talking about what's going on in the news. So I typically fixate on debates focused around why people voted for Trump. And what we'll see in a lot of those conversations is old news, right? Old in the sense that the election was months ago, and we don't really get to talk about what's breaking as of now. So I thought that we'd spend some time discussing that. And one thing I would like to bring up here is I asked myself the other day, why don't I support Trump? Now, of course, I ask myself that question a lot. Okay, that's a big part of what I do here. But I've noticed that my answer's changed. I used to say that I didn't support Trump because of his economic policy, and that was my biggest concern. And it's about women's rights, which is still my biggest concern. But now I'm putting more of a preface than ever on the fact that he is eroding our checks and balances and serving as a threat to the American Constitution. I mean, I think what we saw in the news 2 days ago was his call for a third term and how incredibly dangerous and destructive that is. He said he wasn't joking. He said that there's multiple ways he could do it. He said that he could have J.D. Vance run as president with himself as vice president, and then they could switch, which, by the way, the 22nd Amendment, which was what FDR's predecessor had put in place to prevent more than 2 terms from a president, might allow for, as the language is quite gray. So it's possible he'll find a way to pull it off. My thoughts are that he'll end up trying to get a third term. I find that to be likely. But I think that it's going to be unlikely that he's successful. I think that there's a lot of things that stand between Trump and a third term. The first one is old age. He's already past the life expectancy for men of his age. He's 78. I don't know if he'd just live through a third term, especially because his health really isn't all that good, and we need to recognize that. But simultaneously, what I'd like to point out is I'm pretty sure that a majority of Americans disagree with the idea of any president serving a third term. And then the fourth reason is Obama. Okay? Obama would come in and cook his ass. And that's the truth.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was like, Trump was like, that would be a great thing to see between them, and between us. And I was like, dude, Obama would just absolutely destroy Trump after these 4 years.
I know, dude. But the one thing I'd be concerned about if we ever got to the point where we actually did have Trump versus Obama is that significantly more people would be willing to vote for Trump because Obama would also be running for his third term. And the argument that you shouldn't vote for Trump since he wants a third term and that is just such a threat to our checks and balances would be eroded by rhetoric pushed on the right that, well, Obama's doing the same thing. And like the reasons why Obama would be doing the same thing, just purely as a counter protest against Trump, would probably get lost in the motion of the ocean and the chaos of American politics. And that would probably be one rhetorical maneuver that people on the right would use to justify their support for Trump. So if there's a candidate like Obama that hasn't served 2 terms that the American people love, predominantly like his wife, Michelle Obama, I think that would be probably a better option.
Yeah, Michelle Obama probably would do better.
Yeah. But anyways, you guys, I'm actually going to go ahead and check right now to see if Cory Booker is still going.
Yes.
I was listening. He is?
Yeah.
I want to see what he looks like. Let's see how this man is looking.
You don't know what Cory Booker looks like? He literally ran in 2020.
No, Parker,
I remember.
Parker, I mean, what he looks like after 20 hours of speaking.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I do know what Cory Booker looks like.
I was about to say. I was like, what?
I've talked to him. I've talked to Cory before. Of course, I know what he looks like.
That's crazy. There's 79,000 people watching him on AP News for YouTube.
And right now,
along with 15,000 on MSNBC.
And there's 63.4 thousand people just in his own TikTok stream.
Dude, oh my gosh, dude.
He deserves all of the attention.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I'm so surprised that he still has that floor. So right now, he's 2 hours away. Is that the math? He's at 22 hours right now. That is the math. Yeah, he is at 22 hours right now. He's 2 hours away from 24 hours. And at that point, he'll be 13 minutes away. So he is 2 hours and 10 minutes away from tying the record for the longest speech on the Senate floor in American history. Now, keep in mind that that record was actually set by congressmen contesting the Civil Rights Act of 1953, 55, or 57. I forget the specific year.
That is an incredibly important landmark in U.S. history. That's why there's so much attention to this, especially because of this. Also, like the dedication that it takes to do 20 hours of speaking, of being involved, is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hats off to Cory Booker for this one. Seriously, hats off to Cory Booker for this one. Please do give Cory Booker appreciation for this, because that is an unbelievable task. I'm serious.
Oh, I know. And I feel like, if anything, you and I might have a good idea of how absolutely unbelievable that is. Because, I'll do these 4-hour streams every day where I talk and I debate. And at the end of 4 hours, sitting in a chair with my water, my Uncrustables, and my bathroom, 5 steps away, I am whooped. I'm exhausted. I'm
Look at
tired.
Cory Booker.
But
He's still going.
this is going strong. Let's go ahead and listen in for a second.
You're one of the guys in the Senate that probably most married up. We're both Jersey boys. We both grew up there in grade schools and high schools. We both know those teachers that did so much for us. They coached sports. They taught us. I'm going back for a funeral for a great man in New Jersey named Ed Kohler this weekend, who was one of the great.
He's just talking about Jersey. What a guy. What a guy. And I'm pretty sure Cory also, what led to him serving as a senator. Let's see if I could get that volume up. I can. There you go. That volume can go up a lot more. What led to him serving as a senator in the first place was the fact that he had ran into a burning building and saved people that would have died. And I think it was his own apartment building where he grew up, and he still has a place there today. And I think
That's unbelievable.
that's unbelievable, man. Dude is a legend, an absolute legend. Wait, is Cory Republican or Democrat? He is a Democrat senator from New Jersey. Somebody in the YouTube live just said, okay, so he's Jesus. I think that he is definitely a shining example right now for how Democrats should be responding to Donald Trump and his regime.
Absolutely.
One thing I'll say is, obviously all the eyes in America right now are on him. He is going to leave this speech with so much notoriety, with so much praise, with so many people wanting a piece of him. It's going to be insane for his political career. And I think that's great. And the reason why I think that's great is because, well, let's face the facts, you guys. A lot of people in Congress are just trying to place themselves ahead. And if we could find a way to serve to that unfortunate interests of our congressmen and women, while also aiding and abetting and achieving the greater good, that's a good thing for the situation we're in as Americans. So hopefully this inspires a lot of other Democrats in Congress to step up, get in line right behind Booker, grandstand, filibuster, and speak for 20 hours to protest the tyranny of Trump's administration. Even if they just wouldn't do it for the greater good, do it for themselves. They'll get all the eyes in America on them.
Let's just look at like what Cory Booker is doing for Democrats and for the message, while we look at like what someone like what Gavin Newsom is doing. What is Gavin Newsom doing? He's going on podcasts, creating podcasts with Charlie Kirk, and not giving pushback to a lot of the very conservative opinions that Charlie Kirk espouses. You could watch that podcast. That's what Gavin Newsom's doing. He's placating to the right. What is Cory Booker doing? Cory Booker is fighting for Americans, like literally within Congress right now, standing up for 20 plus fucking hours, advocating for human rights, giving like explanations of different types of events that people went through that were harmful and negatively impacted them in terms of abortion legislation. He's talked about plenty of different issues. He's brought incredible levels of attention to these issues, right? that's incredible, right? That's exactly what we want from someone who's running for president of the United States. And again, this is making history. This is arguably one of the biggest things to happen in 2025 right now. Like this is not a typical thing to happen, that there's that much media attention towards a single Democrat doing something like this. All right, even from filibusters in the past, you didn't see this type of attention. So this is very important. I think it's important, and it's history in the making. So we should acknowledge it as such. And also, like, I think it's gonna be huge, like you said, for Cory Booker's career. I think that he could honestly, like, if he continues this up, could easily be a top nominee for president.
Yeah,
like, actually,
I agree.
like, genuinely.
I agree. You know, I think it was yesterday I was having a discussion with a Trump supporter, and they'd asked me, well, who am I gunning for in 2028? And, you know, we have ideas. People like AOC might end up being on the ballot, Pete Buttigieg, people like Gavin Newsom. But in a sense, you know, I kind of reiterated the sentiment of it's too early to tell, because there's still a lot of time for somebody like Cory Booker to make themselves known as a very serious candidate to fight against Trump's regime and get America back on track. That there's a lot of other people that could pop up in the next 3 years. And I think that today proves that. Cory Booker today has proved himself to the American people as somebody that is willing to set aside all of his immediate self-interests. It's against your self-interest to be standing for 20 hours. It's against your self-interest to be speaking for 20 hours. It's against your self-interests to not eat or use a bathroom for 20 hours for the greater good. And he could be a very serious contender in 2028.
Wait, they can't use the bathroom? I'm pretty sure they can use the bathroom. I'm not quite sure on that. Are they allowed to use? I'm pretty sure they're allowed to use the bathroom, right?
I think I saw on under the desk news from V that they can't.
That is actually fucking insane.
I think because you can't leave the floor. But I will say here, I think it's likely that he probably is wearing a diaper or a catheter or something similar. I mean, he was really well prepped for his speech on the Senate floor. You know, he has a whole booklet in front of himself. I'm looking at probably 300 pages of material to speak on. That it's likely that they had some preparation for needs such as that. So
Not okay. I just want to be clear. That's incredible levels of
dedication.
Absolutely. Holy fuck, dude.
Yeah.
That is insane. That is actually crazy. I was like, there's no fucking way they would even. I think that's honestly getting to a point where it's cruel and unusual. Like, to be totally frank, like to say that someone can't go to the bathroom, right?
Well, the way that I look at it is he can go to the bathroom. It just means that he yields his time to speak on the mic. Okay? So, I mean, I don't know if I'd call that cruel or unusual just because he can go to the bathroom. Okay? But what I call it is dedication. I call it as dedication from this man that we're seeing right now. Been willing to stand in front of that mic for 20 hours. And honestly, I don't see him stopping anytime soon. I mean, listening into this.
More shared prosperity. During the 2017 debate, Trump administration officials and prominent proponents.
Listen to him talk.
So crazy.
Listen to him talk, you guys.
Economic growth.
Does he sound tired?
Economic advisors claimed the centerpiece corporate tax rate cut would very conservatively.
This guy is still going with no end in sight. Honestly, I think that there is a chance he goes until he drops.
Dude,
I think that there's a reality where at some point in the next 15 hours, we see Cory Booker drop on stage from exhaustion.
like he sounds completely like energized, right? To be totally honest.
Mm-hmm.
So much respect goes for this. This is actually like unbelievable. So much fucking respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We just got a $5 donation from Morgan on Venmo. Morgan shares some rather valuable information. Morgan says they cannot get off the floor for any reason, including going to the bathroom, eating, sitting. They can only have water or milk to drink. Yeah.
Milk?
I don't
Why
know.
milk?
I love that rule. I'm a big milk advocate, so I think that's great.
Dude, that is such a random, like, it's only water and milk.
Mm-hmm. And I also just wanted to point out why I think this is so cool. I mean, if you're watching my live right now, I mean, it's likely that you've also seen my TikTok that I posted about it this 2 hours ago, where I reiterated a lot of my thoughts and feelings. But one thing that I think is really, really cool is the fact that I can't think of a time since Donald Trump's inauguration where I've watched a Democrat in Congress get on a mic and explain in excruciating detail how the Trump administration has misstepped, has fucked up, has missed the mark, has hurt Americans. You know, I've only seen the talking points reiterated. Trump bad, boo, we don't like you, very boo, bad, etc. Which is important, okay, because at the end of the day, what's going to win the average American? The one-liners are going to win the average American. The 30-second clips for the shorts on TikTok, Instagram are going to win the average American. But I'm a huge proponent of great explanation, diving into the intricacies of truth and nuance to point out why we shouldn't support the current regime. And nobody's had an opportunity like Cory Booker has right now, and he's taken advantage of it. He has had 20 hours until this moment in time to go into the nuances, to go into the intricacies of where Donald Trump has misstepped, to read the letters from the constituents from Republican counties across our country, to oust their Republican congressmen and women unless they do better and they vote better and they stand against the tyranny. And there is hundreds of thousands of people right now that are listening into his speech, and there's millions of Americans that have seen it being reported on by people like myself, by larger media sources and other creators. This is such a very valuable opportunity to explain to so many Americans exactly why they shouldn't support Trump. And that's why I think this is the best thing to come from the American government since his inauguration. Somebody in my YouTube chat said, bro must be on certain enhancers or something. I doubt it. But honestly, if he was, like, at that point, man, I wouldn't complain. Like, I probably wouldn't condemn him for it.
Yeah, who would?
You know? Like, dude, like, imagine that. Imagine just being so fucking, like, just encapsulating so much rage against the administration for all the harm that they've taken out on Americans and people across the globe, that this dude just takes off these crazy like accelerants to stay awake and stay lively for longer, to go up and just spit in a mic for like over a day straight about how much they fucking suck. I'd actually think that's pretty based, which is a crazy statement, but I don't think so. I think that the only drug he's on is the rage and hate and loathing against the bad decisions made by the Trump administration, and a genuine love for furthering America in a positive direction. Adrenaline, yeah, there's probably a lot of adrenaline, but then again, I bet that a lot of the adrenaline is worn off after over 20 hours.
You want me to play some to listen in? I have a speaker I can play it off of.
Sure, yeah. Do you guys want to listen in? For everyone watching, we can listen in. Pure determination.
We can listen
right.
in. Alrighty.
Well, Parker is getting us set up there to listen in. Make sure that you're double tapping on that phone screen and sharing that live, you guys.
But it would make it easier to actually make the tax cuts lasting by sidestepping a rule governing budget reconciliation, the process Republicans are using to pass the bill. Yes, this sounds technical. That's why we've enlisted some of our Washington's top budget veterans to explain this maneuver using a metaphor. Across the ideological spectrum, nearly all of the more than 20 experts we heard from disliked changing the baseline that Chuck Schumer just came in here and said The Republicans have already decided that they're going to do it. This is outrageous. But here are the New York Times interviewed across the ideological spectrum, a whole bunch of experts from the center, from the right, from the left, and let's hear what they're saying about this gimmick. If budget reconciliation is like taking the express lanes on a highway, there's extra rules and tolls, limited stops, but it gets you where you want to go faster, using a, quote, current policy baseline for taxes is like slapping a fake license plate on your car, says Zach Moeller, director of the economic program at Third Way, which describes itself as a center-left research group. They don't like this gimmick. They think it's fakery. Here's another person using an analogy. It's like taking an expensive week-long vacation and then assuming you could spend an extra $1,000 per day forever since you are no longer staying at the plaza. That's Goldwyn, Senior Vice President and Senior Policy Director for the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, a nonpartisan group that tends to be hawkish on deficits. Here's another person, Jessica Riedel, Senior Fellow at the Manhattan Institute. I've worked with them in the past, a conservative research group, and the chief economist for the former Republican Senator Ron Portman of Ohio. Last year, despite being deeply in debt, I bought a $100,000 sports car. So next year, buying another $100,000 sports car is not irresponsible because I'm merely spending the same amount of money as the year before. And if I purchase only a $70,000 car, then I should be congratulated for reducing my annual spending by $30,000. A conservative think tank is basically calling this a hoax and a lie. Lying to yourself. That if I keep spending the same amount I kept spending to drive up the costs, then I'm just doing the same thing I've done before, so it's not adding. Well, it is adding. There's no way to not call what the Republicans are trying to do a gimmick that's trying to hide the truth that they're going to add trillions of dollars to the deficits that our children, that our children's children are going to have to pay for. The debt payments alone to service the debt are going to be bigger than any of the programs we think we should be investing in, like science research or education or affordable child care or lowering prescription drug costs or expanding the child tax credit, things that we know if we invest in, we'll get some returns. But no, what they're investing in is bigger tax cuts for the wealthiest. Conservatives, independents, left-leaning folks all come to the same conclusion. Pretending $4 trillion in tax cuts will cost nothing may not be easy math. Many Republican lawmakers who are concerned about the deficit are well aware that the bill will increase the deficit by a lot. Here's the integrity call. One Republican in the House showed his integrity. One budget hawk named Massey said, I can't vote for this stuff. I'm a budget hawk. I do not want to see increased deficits. He called it what it was. I saw him in an interview say, hey, wait a minute. By your own numbers, Republican colleagues, you're driving up the deficit by trillions of dollars, and you're making the rich richer, and you're leaving future generations more bankrupt. So this article assumes that this was all going to be decided by the Senate parliamentarian who advises legislators on chamber rules. This parliamentarian, I thought, could rule that the current policy baseline isn't allowed, forcing the Republicans to have to make a choice, overruling or replacing my friend, parliamentarian, somebody that on both sides of the aisle we respect. It's very rarely done. I've been here for 13 years. We've had the same parliamentarian. But that doesn't mean Republicans won't try, this article assumes, and I guess they did try. They found a way around the parliamentarian. They found a way around the rules of the Senate. They found a way around the ideals of reconciliation and the Byrd rule. They are deciding that the way we're going to do this is break the Senate and make up our own rules. This is how they're going to get a bill through that gives $1 trillion of tax cuts to the wealthiest in our country who are doing very well. Let's not hate on other Americans. I celebrate success. God bless you, but you don't need tax cuts, especially not that are going to be given to you on the backs of the poor, on the backs of our elders, on the backs of our children, on the backs of expectant mothers, on the backs of my mom's, your mom's Social Security.
Wow.
Wow.
He's making
What does
more
it say
Seriously.
about
sense.
our values and our
Right there, right there. That is Cory Booker, everyone. Cory Booker calling out Republicans at literally in Congress right now in front of hundreds of thousands of people concurrently right now. What he's doing, he's offering solutions. He's talking about what Democrats are advocating for, whereas other Democrats, what are they doing? What are they doing?
My question is, how is he just making so much damn sense?
I know, right? 20
after,
hours.
Like 20. I actually want to clarify. 22 hours and 54 minutes of speaking straight.
That is unbelievable to be coherent at that point. Like
Wow.
literally, I would totally be incoherent at that point.
Oh, me too.
There's
Me
no
too.
way.
Me too. I talk every day as a profession, and I could never do what he's doing right now. I couldn't. I am
That is
literally
absolute
incapable of
fucking
doing it.
dedication.
Yeah, honestly, dude, I think it's at a point you've just undergone so much hardship for the virtues you want to demonstrate that it demonstrates undeniable, real, virtuous dedication and belief to what he finds to be the good. I think that deserves respect, and I think any argument that he's doing this for some type of personal praise or acclamation is at this point become null. I'm sure somebody could get up on a mic and filibuster or speak at length for maybe like 6 to 7 hours for praise and acclamation to do it for themselves. But to keep it going for a 24, no, that is
Root, thank you for 5
dedication.
pounds. Thank you, Root. That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, really good for him, man. I wonder when he's gonna give it up. You know, like how long he's gonna keep it going. Because I do know at this point he is definitely, undeniably going to break the record set by the racists in the 50s and have the longest Senate speech in American history. That is undeniable.
I don't think of the description. That's actually, dude, that is such an important thing in fucking U.S. history.
Mhm.
This is such a huge event.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Wow, I don't know. Maybe in a week from now I'll look back at this, but this could be like the establishment of like his presidential run, right, for 2028. Like seriously.
Very, 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 very possibly. Possibly that is definitely true. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I think that this automatically makes him a big contestant. I actually think that other people will have a pretty difficult time catching up. I think that the only other candidate that's demonstrated like similar virtues to place themselves ahead would be AOC. Right now, it's like AOC and Mr. Booker are looking like the two front runners for the Democratic Party in
Seriously.
2028. I think that Pete Buttigieg and Gavin Newsom will try to find their way in there, and I'll have to see what their response is. Swift, thank you for the $50 over on YouTube Super Chat. Thank you so much, Swift. Swift says you should try to stay live until the filibuster is over to stand in solidarity with Cory and everyone else trying to make our country better. I'll definitely be live until the filibuster is over, and I'll just be doing like my own form of advocacy and solidarity, which is talking to people on the other side of the political aisle. But I will say something I've been trying to do today that I don't do as typically is debating issues that have arisen in the last 2 months. So I think probably for the rest of the day in our conversations with Trump voters, we're really going to frame them around their current support for Trump and their thoughts on things that have happened in the last 2 months. And I find that to be a very useful dedication of my time. So we'll be getting back to the debates here in around 20 minutes, but I do want to spend another 20 minutes here hanging out with you guys, talking about Cory, seeing what he's up to. I'm just looking at him over on my laptop right now. Dude is going. Don't know how he's doing it. And I really appreciate him for highlighting a lot of the issues in America today. I mean, we just heard him highlight the issues with Donald Trump's economic policy. Earlier, I believe he was speaking on the issues with his immigration policy, and that's just so important. but it's so important. Absolutely. I actually asked some of my viewers to send articles in my Discord before we went on live here of stuff happening, and in the modern time in the last couple weeks that is a result of the Trump administration. That is just terrible. And I'm actually looking at a lot of these. Like, listen to this one. Where is it at? A man was sent to an El Salvador prison due to administrative error despite protected legal status. Wow. So a migrant in Maine, there was a father with a protected legal status in America, was arrested and deported and imprisoned in an El Salvador penitentiary, which, if you're familiar with this penitentiary, it is just loaded and loaded with people that their government threw in there with no due process. But I'm pretty sure they have an argument for it. But the point of the fact of the matter is that they cannot get him out. And he's from Maryland, not Maine. Isn't that terrible? And this is the result of Trump's administration focusing on constitutional violations and impediment upon due process. He's tried to take due process away from Venezuelan migrants by reenacting the Alien Enemies Act of the 18th century, arguing they could merely accuse them of being gang members, therefore they are. He's taken due process away from people under the Lake and Riley Act, which says as long as an individual is accused of a violent crime, they can be deported. He's taken due process away from asylum seekers, saying if anybody has started their asylum-seeking process in the last 2 years, that he could terminate it with no reason and no further processing throughout a court, and they have to go back to their home country. He's impeded upon the due process of undocumented migrants in general mass deportation by firing federal judges that oversee immigration courts that are sympathetic to extending undocumented migrants a temporary legal status as they're in the works of achieving it on their own, and replace them with his cronies that will reject them outright.
Dan, thank you so much for the membership subscription. Thank you so much, Dan.
And, the impediment upon the due process that we see has now resulted in an innocent legal migrant being placed in a jail in El Salvador without an available avenue for the American government or El Salvadorian government to seek his release. And somebody in the chat just said, why are international human rights not stepping in? So America has been placed on a human rights watch. I just hope that, we have other countries condemn the actions and have some more vocality about them. But of course, that starts at home. That starts with us speaking out about it.
Charlie, thank you for the membership subscription. Thank you so much. Yeah, it definitely takes people here at home speaking out. And that's why I think it's so important what Cory Booker is doing right now.
1 second. I need to read off this PayPal donation real quick. Hi Home. Thank you for the $5 donation over on PayPal. I wanted to read this out. Hi Home and Decor says, hey man, I know this isn't much, but it's the last $5 I have. What you do is so damn important, and I'd love to support you. Thanks for everything that you do. So, hi Home and Decor, this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to send you that $5 back. I do not want to have your last $5, but I just want you to know that I appreciate you and love the hell out of you. And I'd appreciate it if everybody else watching can really show some very serious love to Hi Home and Decor. I cannot take your last $5, but I do take your appreciation, and I value it so much, especially if you're willing to donate me your last $5. I really appreciate you so much more than you'll ever know. I did send that $5 back, and I'd appreciate it if everyone could please show some love to Hi Home and Decor. You are a very, very kind-hearted person. Thank you so much, Hi Home and Decor. Anyways, for everybody watching, feel free to bring up issues in the last month or two as a result of Donald Trump's administration for us to discuss. I've seen a lot about the Wisconsin races for Supreme Court and how Elon Musk is once again back at it, paying voters money to do what he wants. I think that should be illegal. And I don't think that anybody really disagrees with me unless you are just lost in the MAGA cult. As well as, I mean, have we heard about how Donald Trump is starting to figure out that Putin isn't a good faith, respectable actor?
I did hear about that, and
Yeah.
I was like, dude, he's figuring out he got played. How do you just figuring that out? Trump, like seriously, that is like the first thing you would have ever thought to come from a murderous dictator, is that he's trying to deceive you and play you and manipulate you. Like, come on, bro, use your brain.
You know, it's funny because I had somebody come up on my live about a week ago and argue. I mean, maybe some of you guys remember this, like the most indefensible position ever. They were arguing that Trump was going to stop supporting Russia and then toe the line behind Ukraine. And it's funny because, you know, at the time there's no evidence for it, but I feel like now we're starting to see him drop his support for Russia. He was pounding on Putin. And I hope he continues to, you know what I mean? Because not only is it funny to recognize that this guy is just like genuinely like crazy, but also I love the fact that he's starting to pound on Putin. Lori, thank you so much for the $10 donation on Venmo. Lori says, I'd love to come up and talk to you about the Haitian community and some things I've seen. Lori, please DM me on Instagram. I'd love that. As well as, well, Lori, are you a part of the Haitian community? If so, please DM me on Instagram. And then Hannah with the $15 donation. Hannah says, I wish I educated myself on politics a lot sooner. I blindly followed my conservative dad's beliefs for most of my life. Today, I went head to head with a leader in his church that ended up being an actually decent debate about abortion, but quite frankly, I cooked her. So thanks. You're awesome, Hannah. I already know you cooked her. Absolutely. That's great. Well, I think what is true for a lot of Americans is a lack of an incentive to educate yourself on politics, because at the end of the day, you only have a 1 in 10 million chance of changing the outcome of an election. So the cost you put in is just not equal to the reward that you get. But I am so happy to genuinely see a lot of people getting interested. And that's why I love what I do. And I try to make it entertaining so it interests more people, interests as many people as possible. Kenneth, thank you so much for the $15 over on PayPal, saying, as an Irishman, I'm genuinely worried about the impact tariffs will have on our economy. I feel like that's not talked about enough. You know, the Republicans will tell you that the American economy is the strongest and we're really going to fuck up all these other countries. And in a sense, that's true, dude. Tariffs that America imposes on other countries is really bad news for people in the other countries. And I'm just really hoping that there comes a day where we have somebody more sensible in office that does the right thing, or the American people wake up, you know, tell Trump that they don't agree with him and stop engaging in cult-like behaviors. But we've seen him flip-flop on his tariffs on Canada because of opposition from Canada. So I just think that we need very strong retaliatory forces from every other country in the world. Y, thank you for the $20 donation on Venmo. Y says, you're a kind soul and I love your content. Y, that is so incredibly kind of you. Thank you so much. Huge shout out to Y. Then Lindsay with a 15 says, can we play the video of, I don't know how to pronounce her first name. I'm going to go ahead and guess how to pronounce her last name. Miss Ozturk, getting ripped off the street illegally. Please, we need the outrage at this lack of due process. I can't play video through the live, but we could definitely discuss what happened. A 30-year-old immigrant on a student visa learning was ripped off of the streets. Ripped off of the streets by 5 policemen in plain clothes with masks on their faces. And then she found herself in a migrant detention center 1,400 miles away. And now we know that the ICE officials violated a court order in the process, as they were required to keep her in Massachusetts for, at minimum, 48 hours. And that's the lack of due process that leads to individuals such as the father from Maryland, the illegal migrant, now being held in an El Salvadorian prison that the American government can't get him out of. Good, says JC one time in the chat. JC, I invited you up. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hopefully have you explain to me why that's a good thing. Of course, you'll reject the invitation, but I thought I'd send it to you just to show the other 5,000 people listening that anybody who disagrees with me is a ignorant rage baiter. Kaylee, thank you for the $10 donation. Kaylee says, meanwhile, my mother attending the Columbus April 5th hands-off protest, super excited. I found out about these protests from You Keep Educating. Let's go, Kaylee. That's awesome. That's awesome, Kaylee. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm everyone also look into the general strike. The general strike has also been they've been sharing a lot of my content on their Instagram account. The people over there with the general strike are very, very cool.
That's sick. That's sick.
Yeah, I know. I was scrolling on my Instagram page, saw a post by the general strike, and then I saw my face, and I was like, whoa.
Whoa.
Did he officially cross the mark? He did. You guys, Cory Booker is 50 minutes away from having from 24 hours. He's
That's
50 minutes away
fucking
from
day.
24 hours.
What's the record?
What is it? 24 hours and 13 minutes? Something like that?
So here in about an hour, Cory Booker is going to pass the record.
Let me look.
I was like, I'll have to turn it back on.
Yeah, let me
In
look.
about an
What
hour.
is the record for the longest Senate speech in history? Let's just look at what the record is. It is 24 hours and 18 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It started at 8:54 p.m. and went until 9:12 p.m. the next day. After a filibuster?
Yeah, after Cory is done, will they be? I mean, I have to check back. Will they be able to pass the law then?
Okay, so he's not actually filibustering any legislation. So I guess the term filibuster isn't like an appropriate term to
So
describe
this
what
isn't
he's
a
doing.
filibuster then.
No, it's not a filibuster.
I was under the impression that this was a filibuster. That's my bad.
He's more so just delaying the usual business of the Senate
Mm-hmm.
in protest. I mean, they've already had to delay the approval of, I forget his name, but he's supposed to be he was supposed to be nominated this morning as the new U.S. representative in the UN. So they've had to delay his nomination.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That is sick. That is sick though. Right, the longest speech ever conducted in the legislative branch.
Ever on the Senate floor. Yep, it is still yet a record. I wonder what the longest speech is in any global government, in any government across the globe.
In that type of setting where you can't.
Yeah.
Lay, thank you so much for the $4 cash app. Thank you so much, Lay.
Longest speech marathon. Okay, it's actually a Guinness World Record. So this was achieved in August of 2018, and it was one person that spoke for 90 hours.
90 hours?
Wow.
Why?
I don't know. That's crazy. Now that's seriously just mind-boggling. And that was in
Yeah.
Nepal.
That is insane. Why, dude? 90 hours? I can't even fathom. That is diabolical.
Georgia woman arrested for miscarriage. Let's see. We're going to go ahead. Okay. Let's check this out. A 24-year-old woman in Georgia is facing criminal charges after authorities say she suffered a miscarriage and then disposed of the fetus. It is unfortunate that the situation unfolded the way it did, says Patrick Warren, Tift County District Attorney. The woman faces 1 count of concealing the death of another person and 1 count of throwing away or abandonment of a dead body. Oh my God.
That's insane.
What was she supposed to do? That is terrible. What were they expecting her to have a miscarriage and then just get up as if nothing happened, change her clothes, collect the remains and go to a hospital?
Where's the watermelon love? Like, literally, like, what?
Wow. I can't believe that. Okay. In this case, the case law would indicate that the person who would have to have lived independent of the mother, separate and independent of the mother, meaning not a fetus in her womb, that will be determined based upon the medical examiner and the autopsy. Do we need an autopsy to determine that a fetus is not living separately and independent from the mother? Tifton County coroner said last week the autopsy showed the 19-week-old fetus never took a breath. 19 weeks is before viability. Of course it never took a breath. It wasn't viable for survival outside of the mother. Wow. And apparently this case is similar to over 200 other nationwide cases. So this isn't the first time it's happened. And it looks like we have a more recent update 13 hours ago from the DA saying that miscarriage alone does not warrant charges.
Yeah, I'm like, how can someone be charged for that? That's so crazy, bro.
So it looks like a witness told police that the woman had placed a fetus in a bag and then placed the bag in the dumpster outside. Where did she go wrong?
I was like, what should she have done?
No, seriously. I mean, I wonder
Are you supposed to like go to the hospital and be like, yo, what do I do with this? Or go to the police station and be like, yo, what do I do with this? What?
Yeah. What was I do truly wonder what she was supposed to do. Yes, actually. Yeah, she was supposed to give it a funeral, you guys. Terrible.
Who would show up to the funeral?
And what's even more like crazy is, I mean, women miscarriage all the time and don't report it. In fact, I can't think of a time where I've ever been under the impression that there's some type of societal understanding that women are supposed to report miscarriages. If anything, we're under a societal understanding. That's a very personal thing that you're under no obligation to report at all to anybody. Yeah, there's even, a bunch of individuals in the chat saying, we're supposed to report that? Yeah, what? There's no regulations, and I mean there shouldn't be regulations.
I mean,
on
even
miscarriage.
regardless of how common it is, it still should be the case that if someone has a miscarriage, they didn't intentionally do it. Why would they be held responsible for that?
Well, what the DA, I think the DA is arguing against it, which is a good thing, by the way. That's good for the woman. But the police are arguing that she is guilty of like the incorrect disposal of human remains, essentially. That she didn't correctly dispose of the remains of the fetus. Amanda, thank you so much for the $20 donation on Venmo. Amanda says, Dean, you were in my dream last night. I gave you a hug and said I was so proud of you. I'm 46, child-free by choice, but if I had a son, I'd want him to be just like you. Thank you. Amanda, you're very lovely, and that's a very kind message. Thank you so much, Amanda. Please show some love to Amanda. Miscarry is the verb. Miscarriage is a noun. Thank you, Martin. Learn more every day. Look at that. Amber with a $10 saying, what a snitch. Yeah, whoever reported that is evil.
Insane shit. Insane.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, think about a fetus at 19 weeks. You know, it's a very underdeveloped life form. It's not even viable outside of a woman's uterus at that point. I'm so surprised that the police decided to pursue charges against her. Ashley, with the $25 on Venmo, says, did you see that GDP estimates went down from negative 2.8 to negative 3.7? Oh, no! You gotta hear this, you guys. On the day of Trump's inauguration, the Atlanta Fed projected a 4% rate of growth in the American GDP in the first financial quarter of this year that we're in right now. 3 weeks after that, they went from projecting 4% growth to negative 2.8% growth, or a 2.8% recess for the first quarter. And apparently, as of yesterday, they went from the GDP shrinking by 2.8% to the GDP shrinking by 3.7%. So it's almost as if every day that passes, we only see larger reductions in consumer confidence. I mean, we're having the stock market open up at historical lows.
That is crazy.
The economy continues to suffer.
3.7% when we're talking about our GDP, everyone, is a lot of fucking money. That is a lot of money. Okay? That is a lot of money. Oh my God. A 3% reduction, 3.7% reduction that's very bad. For even just one quarter, that's insane.
Let's see what that is. Wow. Okay. So that is 1,105,584,000,000. That's 1 point. That's roughly.
That's just for one quarter, Dean.
Yeah, that's roughly $1.2 trillion lost off of our GDP in 3 months.
Which is more than the entirety of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act added to our economy.
Yeah. Wow, look at that. Oh my gosh. Let's all just move to Mars. And yeah, let's all pack our bags, but we will not be taking the SpaceX nonsense to get there, quite frankly. We'll not be taking the SpaceX nonsense, quite frankly.
Absolutely wild. When do you get your main account back? Or not main account, your debate account?
We got it.
Back?
Yeah,
Back?
we got it.
Did you want to keep doing this, or do you want to go back to debates? Up to you.
I'm down to head over and do debates. But I do, once we hit the 24-hour mark, set aside some time.
Yeah, once we hit the record.
Set aside some time to talk about Cory. Stay, don't debate. Well, let's see what you guys want. Do you guys want us to go debate or hang out?
It is my last day of debate of live for like 3-4 days. So I'm not going to be live the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 6th.
Really?
Yeah.
Parker, you've never taken a break that big.
I know.
What am I going to do? I'm going to have to hold down the fort.
Yeah, it's just you, bro. I might be able to do like a Q&A for a small period of time, but like not like debate lives at all, and no even YouTube lives. I can't even do that, sadly.
Yeah, I'm gonna be holding down the fort, y'all. All right. Oh, looks like I'm getting a link for inactivity. Well, here's my thoughts. Let's see what Cory's at. He is at 23 hours and 30 minutes. Let's see what the most recent reporting is on it. We're gonna check out a couple other creators. See what their reporting is.
News right now, Cory Booker is now 22 hours into his marathon speech, nearing the record of 24 hours and 18 minutes hit by Strom Thurmond back in 1957 when he was filibustering the Civil Rights Act. It's been 22 hours since Cory Booker started speaking. He hasn't stopped. He hasn't sat down. He hasn't taken a bathroom break. And while no, he's not necessarily filibustering any legislation or nomination, he has disrupted Senate operations significantly. They can't do anything until he stops speaking, and he's just 2 hours away from breaking a historic Senate record. Before I continue, TikTok will be banned in 4 days, so be sure to follow me on my Instagram, Substack, and YouTube. All are linked to my bio. I'm going on Capitol Hill to try to cover the speech live, hopefully get some words with senators, maybe even Cory Booker.
Yeah, look at that, you guys. Mr. Parnas over here.
This is a historic moment.
Mr. Parnas might be covering this with Cory Booker himself later this evening.
That's wild.
Yeah, and I don't have a definite answer. I don't have a definite answer, but it is being thrown around. I have some people on Capitol Hill right now advocating for it. But I might be able to get a digital interview with Mr. Booker later this evening. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. It's purely hypothetical right now. It's purely hypothetical right now. But I have some people advocating for that with his team. I got lucky. I've had one senator's team reach out to me before, and it just so happened to be Cory's. So I got really lucky there. But I'm hoping to be able to use that luck and transform it into, a really cool interview later. Nothing for sure yet. Just a maybe.
That would be really sick, Dean.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be so cool. Linda, thank you for the $10 over on YouTube Super Chat. Thank you, Linda. And then Martin with a 5. Okay. All right.
Sid, thank you so much for the $20. Thank you so much. Yes, you have to plan with friends for 3-4 days. Dean will be live, but yeah, it is kind of sad that I won't be live, but I will be back, everyone.
Here's my thoughts. I'm thinking about maybe this is what I'm gonna do. I want to film a TikTok to throw up the moment he breaks Strom's, whatever the fuck his name is, Thurman's record. And I basically want my video to say, he broke the record, get fucked, you silly racist, and that's all. So I might go film that now, and I just seriously want to make a video that says, get fucked, Mr. Thurman, you silly racist, Cory Booker broke the record, and then go debate. So I think here's what we're gonna do. For everybody on here, well, I'm gonna head over to my account at DNC Dean, because that is unbanned now. We'll be doing debates over there for a couple more hours, maybe.
I'll be on until probably 8 o'clock my time.
Nice. I've already been on for, let's see, how many hours? 3. We've been on for 3 hours. Probably do another hour and a half or so, and then we'll get off. But that's all going to be over on at DNC Dean. But before we do that, just got to film a quick TikTok. I know.
Alrighty. I'll do a Q&A on this account until you get on.
Awesome. So I'll see you everywhere, everyone. I'm on YouTube right now. If you want to watch me film a TikTok, head over to my YouTube, link in the link tree in my bio. It's always a funny experience because I'm actually not that good at pre-recorded things like TikToks. It takes a minute for me to figure it out. You know, when I'm not thinking about that much, the first thing I could speak on the fly quite well, but when it's like pre-recorded for a video on the page, I I fall into anxious bits and pieces. So if you want to see that, you could find the link in my bio. It's on the link tree where you could find the YouTube. If you don't want to watch me go through the tribulations of trying to film a TikTok for
And
like
you want to
20
watch the
minutes,
Q&A? I'll be on live on
And you wanna watch the Q&A.
YouTube. Parker, good job. Love y'all.
Yeah, but all right, guys. At Dean Withers on YouTube, link in bio. Hopefully, see you there. Parker, I'll see you in like 20 minutes.
See you in like 20 minutes. Crazy.
That's an overestimation. I'm hoping that it doesn't take that long.
All right, we'll see. We'll see how long it takes.
All right, take care.
Good luck.
Bye, everybody. Link in bio for
It's
the
gonna take
YouTube.
forever, Chad. Oh, we're fucked.
Link in bio for the YouTube. Link in bio.